This is Neutral Ice.
Sidney Crosby, the golden goal! Flyers score! Oh, does it? He scores again, and what a goal! Wow!
Buffalo's best hockey show every Monday night.
Golden goal! Sweden wins the World Junior Hockey Championship! Scores! Gio Sakic scores! Gio! What a save by Robin Miller!
Now, here are your hosts, Nick Lippa and Jack Sullivan.
Somebody find a fire hydrant! Put this guy out!
On Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM, WBNY.
Good evening. Welcome in, everyone, to Neutral Ice here on 91.3 FM, WBNY. I am Brayton Wilson, hosting for once. Nice little change up. I know, right? 8:01 is the time here. We're open to phone calls here from anybody listening in. 878-5104 is our number. Well, let's get started here with the news of the day, with the news coming from training camp. Training camp is slowly but surely winding down for the Buffalo Sabres here. By the way, Lou DiBiase, Adam, what's your last name again? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've come across some people in my life who couldn't pronounce my last name. It's actually Bowerly.
Adam Bowerly, that's right. Adam Bowerly, Frank Arcuri,
Yes.
and myself, Brayton Wilson here, hosting for you tonight. So, anyways, back to Sabres development camp. Some good news, and we get some bad news. The good news is Rasmus Ristolainen has returned to practice. He is skating with the team. According to Dan Bylsma, he will be participating in at least 2 of the next 3 games for the Sabres in the preseason. They only have 3 games left this preseason. One of the games is tomorrow night against Toronto at the First Niagara Center. So Ristolainen returning from his upper body injury is the good news. The bad news is that Josh Georges and Zach Bogosian are going to be week to week with lower body injuries. They both are going to miss the rest of the preseason. I think that's 100%.
That and then a little bit of regular season time.
Yeah, with the one person that might be able to come back for the opener is Josh Georges. I think Zach Bogosian has been officially sort of designated as out for the season opener.
Yeah.
Also, Chad Ruedel and Jake McCabe were absent on Monday. Ruedel's day-to-day with a lower body injury, and McCabe has been evaluated. His status is still unclear.
I have heard that he's feeling better.
Yes, that is something that Dan Bylsma did point out today, is that he's feeling better.
Yep.
So, with that said, the Sabres defense is looking quite thin all of a sudden. Is it fair to say that? I mean, is this a concern that should be addressed right now, or are we just going to have to wait and see how everything plays out?
I think it's wait and see more, because this is the reason why guys like Carlo Koliakovo and Matt Donovan, even Bobby Sanguinetti were brought in for these kind of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
They're still NHL serviceable defensemen, albeit not top 4, top 2 kind of guys. They're more, 5, 6, and 7 guys, but they're here for injury reasons.
And you still have Mike Weber, too, who's going to be in here. Brendan Gooley's really trying to play his way into the roster. Bylsma's been really impressed with him, being 51st overall, I think, in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The odds were against him, and he's really been impressing so far in the preseason. So this is an opportunity for him, too, to really take advantage, especially with another young guy in Jake McCabe who's injured, too. I thought he was going to press for a roster spot. So a lot of the injuries are piling up, but I agree with Frank. I think it's more of a wait-and-see approach here for the Sabres.
Another good thing, too, is there's so much depth, which creates a lot of competition. If you want to get the best out of your players, you want them to compete. A friendly competition, whatever, as long as they're competing. And I think at the end of the day, when they cut some players, they'll have a solid core, at least to start the season, amidst the fact that they will not have Zach Bogosian. But like you have said, Brendan Gooley has been a surprise, I think, for a second-round pick recently being signed. And I was just talking to some people before, and we're wondering, who knows, maybe he'll get a 9-game tryout being a defenseman straight out of the draft.
That's what I want to bring up too. Is that with the defensemen at practice today, we had Ristolainen, you had Jerome Leduc, who's still on the roster.
Brady Austin,
somehow.
too.
Brady Austin somehow still on the roster.
Yeah.
You got Mike Weber, Mark Pezic, Cody Franzen, Carlo Koliakovo, Matt Donovan, and also, of course, Brendan Gooley, as Adam just mentioned. Now, I wrote about this at BetterLivesThanDeadSports.com. Brendan Gooley, of course, 51st overall pick this past year, second round, in a draft that was deep. Probably one of the deepest drafts since 2003. Actually, the deepest draft since 2003. Let me rephrase.
Absolutely the deepest draft.
So, with this being said, with Gooley still here, how many of you think that he gets the 9 games? Is it really a possibility that Brendan Gooley is going to be sticking with this roster for at least 9 games over veterans like Koliakovo and Matt Donovan?
It's certainly possible, but he has to outplay those guys, which is once again still possible to do. But he also has to really play well in these last 3 preseason games. If he really does, I think he may not get 9 games. He may get like 3 or 4 games, but he may even start the season with the Buffalo Sabres.
I think if Bogosian and Georges weren't injured, it would be more of a long shot. But even then, he was still impressing Bielsma.
Yeah.
I think now that those injuries are piling up, and he really adds more of an offensive dynamic compared to some of the other guys that are coming in the lineup, like Matt Donovan or Kolovakio. So, I mean, he had 5 goals and 27 assists last year in 72 games for 32 points, so he can add a spark in that aspect too. I think he gets the 9-game tryout, and especially if McCabe can't get back in time, I like him to make the roster for the first games of the season.
And the GM was making a concerted effort to get that coveted left-handed defenseman, and I guess if McCabe was still, if he wasn't on the IR, if McCabe was healthy, I guess it would just be a question of who's better, Goulet or McCabe, because they're both left-handed defensemen. It's what Tim Murray needs. But I do think that he will get a tryout, whether it be 9 games or 3 games, so that has remained to be seen. We'll see how he adjusts to the NHL level. From what I've heard, he's very poised. He's a smooth skater. So I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, with the subtraction of Josh Georges, Bogosian. I think it's a real possibility that Tim Murray would want him to get a taste of the NHL. His
skating is just so smooth. You watch him out there; he just flows on the ice just naturally. That's his strong point. That's what he was drafted for, was his skating. He can also hit. He can also play the puck very well. Of course, he's an 18-year-old kid. He's going to make some mistakes. We saw that a couple of times so far this preseason. The first game, he, obviously looked nervous. It looked like he was swimming in his own shorts.
Yeah.
And then against Ottawa, he made a couple more mistakes. And then Game 3 against Toronto, that's where he really looked like he was becoming established.
Well. He played very well that game.
He had a couple of assists in that game against Toronto.
Yeah.
So now comes tomorrow night against the Maple Leafs in Buffalo. The rosters haven't been announced on who's going to play, who's not going to play. But I mean, it's almost certain that Gooley's probably going to get a couple of these last 3 games, 2 or maybe even all 3 of the games, to see if he can keep improving and keep, playing the way he has been playing, in order to make the Sabres management think, okay, this kid's got a chance at the NHL level, at least for 9 games.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, granted, barring some sort of bizarre circumstances, I don't think that Brendan Gooley's going to be a Buffalo Sabre for the entire stretch of the season.
No.
I mean, there's no reason to keep him here. Send him back to juniors.
Let him develop.
And I mean, honestly, you could probably say the same, but I was thinking before the show began, what about Bobby Sanguinetti? And I looked it up, and I guess he's got a lower body injury that he's still suffering from the offseason or something like that. He hasn't been really practicing with the team at all. So, you got guys like Koliakovo, Matt Donovan. You got Mike Weber, who are left-handed shot defensemen, who are still practicing right now. Yeah. And then, of course, you got Brendan Gooley. And you lose Georges, you lose McCabe now, who were left-handed shots.
Yep.
So, I mean, it just definitely improves his chances. And I wrote it, too, is that, I think that, I want to see him get sent back to juniors. I honestly don't really prefer to see him get his first 9 games here. I want to see him go back to juniors, improve, take what he's learned from this preseason chance, and, build on it. Yep. But the fact is that guys are falling, to injury right now. So, I mean, there's no real option for Gooley. If he's one of the only defenders left before the start of the regular season, not only are we in injury trouble, but we got an 18-year-old kid who's going out there against Ottawa game 1 of the preseason, and good luck.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, we got to remember that training camp isn't over. I mean, there's only one of the biggest problems with 18-year-olds, especially right out the draft, is consistency. These players have to learn a consistent game, and to be a defenseman and to play in the NHL as an 18-year-old, I mean, Aaron Ekblad do it. It's extremely rare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as I'd love to see what he does in the NHL, I think for his own sake, maybe you're right. He should just go back to juniors, and not only that, but I really think that if he gets some seasoning, I mean, he was paired with Pesek. I think.
Yep.
I think they could find some chemistry in the preseason, but the training camp's not over. So if he continues to excel, if he continues to improve, I could see there's a possibility he'd get a game or 2 or maybe 9. Who knows? But we got to remember, training camp's not over. So there's always a chance for other players to outshine him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree, and I love the pairing of Pesek and Gooley. They look like a pair that 3 or 4 years down the road could be established pairing in the NHL. Yep. Not of course like a pairing like Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, but I mean it's
solid pair.
Once in a blue moon you get a pair like that where 2 defensemen who have played together for I don't even know how many years, but they've been together that long and they're still together now.
Yeah,
you don't see that very often
and
anymore.
They're going to continue to be together. Brent Seabrook just re-signed.
Well, I mean, you would love to see a guy like Rasmus Ristolainen find a pairing with somebody on the Sabres roster. Maybe it'll be a guy like Gooley. Maybe it'll be a guy like Jake McCabe, a left-handed shot defenseman with a right-handed shot defenseman. Who knows? But talking about 18-year-olds in the NHL, also from practice today, Jack Eichel was moved back to the second line with Molson and this time Brian Giunta instead of Zemgus
Yeah,
Girgensons.
Bylsma has been juggling the lines a little bit.
As he should, because, I mean, it's preseason, of course.
Yeah, there's not going to be the same lines aren't going to be rolling out every game.
You gotta experiment. So the top line of Kane, O'Reilly, and Ennis are back together.
Yep.
And it was Molson, Eichel, and Giunta on the second line. Third line was Delorier, Legwan, and Foligno. That could be a very good fourth line for the Sabres.
A very good fourth line, yeah.
The fourth line right now is Rodriguez, Larson, and Reinhart. And the other line was Ellis, Girgensons, and then Schaller with Atkinson as well. Yeah. Now, there were some cuts made.
Yes.
But I'm going to get to that in just a second. But first, with Eichel. We saw Eichel play with Kane and Ennis in Ottawa. And that line was, I don't even know, stellar.
It was incredible.
It was
really good.
Really fun to watch.
Really,
least on Twitter, because it wasn't on television.
I watched the highlights of the game. It was everything.
It looked amazing, and I thought a lot of time too. Maybe Eichel, when I heard that Eichel was going to be playing on the same line with Ennis, I thought maybe. I mean, they both like to have the puck on their stick a lot of the time, but they really seem to work well together. That 2-on-1, Ennis even said in his press conference he knew Eichel was going to pass to him the entire time. It was a great pass across the ice. So if they can gain some chemistry, like Brayton, you said earlier before the show, that it's going to start off with O'Reilly, Ennis, Kane, but you could definitely see, and I could see this too, that Eichel eventually, if he continues to impress with Molson in that second line, that he can end up getting really a lot of time as that first line center.
Now, I don't know if I'm... go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, I think the biggest feature of that line that was so notable was the fact that Jack Eichel, Tyler Ennis, and Evander Kane are such good skaters. It was such a fast line.
Yeah, they were flying
out there.
And
I think if you want to pair any players together with Jack Eichel, it would have to be Ennis and Kane. Kane loves to shoot. He's a great shooter. Yep. He finds ways to beat the goalie. Jack Eichel, what can I say about Jack Eichel? Phenomenal talent. He also likes to shoot. Tyler Ennis likes to create a lot of space for his line mates. And if you want to create space for anyone, it's gonna be Evander Kane. When he has that puck on his stick and he's close in his spot, he can pick corners.
Now
one more thing about Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
The pairing of Ryan O'Reilly, Tyler Ennis, and Kane. The thing that I thought immediately was Ryan O'Reilly is totally a possession number, okay? Like, he has the puck on his stick. He knows how to keep the puck on his stick.
Right.
Ennis is the playmaker. If O'Reilly can keep the puck on his stick and play a role, and play the role of holding on to the puck, getting it to Ennis, using Kane as a sniper, that could also be an effective line maybe in a power play unit, although the power play units were released. But I think Jack Eichel, Kane, and Ennis, that is a fast line. I would love to see that move.
Oh, it's going to be electric watching that line play. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with Ryan Wolf, who's a fellow writer at BetterLiveThanDeadSports.com.
Great guy.
Very great guy. Yes, he was on our show once.
Yep.
And, we were talking, and we brought up the question. I brought up the question the day before on Twitter. I don't know if anybody of you seen it, but I brought up the question: what is the over/under of goals that the first line is going to score? And I am going to throw this out there, whether it's O'Reilly, Kane, and Ennis, because Kane and Ennis are going to be first liners, no doubt about it.
No doubt.
The difference is that with Eichel playing the way he did with Kane and Ennis on Saturday, that raises a question: who's going to play that center role on the first line? Right. But let's just assume it's Ryan O'Reilly.
Okay.
What is the over/under on the amount of goals that this top line would score throughout the entire season? How many goals are they going to score?
Combined?
I'll tell you mine. I'll start off.
Okay.
I have them. I don't know if I'm being optimistic, or I don't know if I'm being too optimistic, I should say. I don't know if I'm being too optimistic, or if this is a realistic number. I have them at somewhere between 80 and 85 goals.
Okay.
It's not a bad number.
It's not a bad number, but it's high.
It's very high.
In my head, I had around 75. I think Evander Kane is surpassing 30, and I could see Ennis really get to over 20, to maybe 25 goals here. I think both O'Reilly and Ennis could get over 20 goals, but I'm like Ennis. I think Ennis is going to get a lot more this year.
Yeah,
so I like 75.
I'm thinking more of like between 65 and 70.
I think Tyler Ennis is going to have a fantastic season. I think he's really going to have a breakout year with the right line mates. I think Ryan O'Reilly, whether or not he's a point-per-game player, he brings those intangibles that the Sabres desperately needed. And, what can you say about Evander Kane? If, like I said, if he gets the puck on his stick, if he's close enough, he could snipe, he could shoot lasers. I saw him at one of the preseason games. But, I honestly think Jack Eichel would be a more natural fit between Kane and Ennis, but I think the whole Ryan O'Reilly penciled in as a number one center thing is kind of like, that was the idea, but they didn't expect what Eichel would do. How would they expect the chemistry that Kane, Eichel, and Ennis would have? And also, I think there is a possibility Ryan O'Reilly could play left wing, and he's shown that he can play left wing.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was up to me, I would have Eichel, Kane, and Ennis together. I think they could really surprise some people.
I think I like Adam's point with Eichel being on the top line center. Here's another point that I'm going to make. Tyler Ennis and Evander Kane are both left-handed shots.
Yes.
Okay.
O'Reilly's a left-handed shot.
Yes.
Eichel's a right-handed shot.
Yes.
If you want somebody feeding you the puck,
it's like,
one way or the other,
you
probably want a right-handed shot feeding you the puck more than a left-handed shot, because it would just be much harder for both guys to get the shot away.
Right.
But
it doesn't hurt that your left winger is Evander Kane.
Right. Evander Kane is one heck of a hockey player.
Yeah, you can tell the pure goal scoring ability in him is incredible.
Right.
Something
He's a
we haven't
force.
seen in quite some time.
The thing though, I think right now to start, I still want O'Reilly centering Ennis and Kane. My biggest reason for it is Ryan O'Reilly's defensive ability. Adam, I think you mentioned it earlier about him being able to control the puck and help out with that puck possession. That's something the Sabres have been really bad at the last couple of years. So we need that kind of guy, especially as our number one center. O'Reilly's going to win us faceoffs in the offensive and defensive end, and he's going to take away the puck a lot. So when he does that, he's going to be feeding Ennis and Kane a lot.
Eichel was on the penalty kill too. They were running him a lot. He's got
absolutely,
great puck ability too. To me,
absolutely.
You make a great point. To me, either way, if you have Eichel or O'Reilly, they're okay to me on the defensive end with their forwards.
It's just still amazing how Tim Murray was able to swing a deal to grab O'Reilly and then be able to draft Eichel in the same night. So you get two top-line centers.
In a matter of minutes.
In a matter of minutes. Like, that kind of stuff has not happened ever.
And you already have Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, and you already have Sam Reinhart.
You have to move Gergensen or Reinhart to the wing. It's an incredible situation.
And it almost feels like that both of them is going to be moved to the wing at some
With
point.
Reinhart, you hope that Reinhart develops into a player like a Patrice Bergeron. Bergeron's extremely talented.
Oh, yeah.
However, Bergeron's hockey sense is off the charts.
It
Bergeron is one of the smartest players in the NHL, and you look at Sam Reinhart, he was drafted for his mind, for his hockey sense, his
It's
ability
right
to
up there, too.
to anticipate plays.
Yeah.
I mean,
And his
I think
passing ability is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah,
I've never
Sam-
seen him pass the puck.
That's
Sam
what the hockey
Reinhart's
sense comes right in with that.
passing, I mean, he knows where a play is going to go, so that's where he puts the puck, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So if you've got a generational player like Jack Eichel, you got another top-line forward in Ryan O'Reilly, and then you have Sam Reinhart, who could be a Patrice Bergeron as your three centers for the future for the next 7 years, like that. Ryan O'Reilly's been re-signed for 7, but he's going to play 8 years.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you've got Reinhart and Eichel who you have to re-sign later. But
3
the
years
fact
from now.
is that if you have those three as your centers for the next 7-8 years, wow. That's, I mean, once O'Reilly or once Reinhart and Eichel develop into their fullest potential,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's better than anything Pittsburgh is throwing out there with a Crosby Malkin. I mean honestly, I mean Malkin and Crosby are two very good superstar talents.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that you mean Patrice Bergeron is right up there as a superstar talent. Ryan O'Reilly is very good as well. And Jack Eichel is, I mean, I've always compared him to like a hybrid of Ryan Kessler and Jonathan Taves. That has always been my comparison.
I feel
of
more
Eichel.
of an Eichel as more of a comparison to a Ryan Getzlaf kind of player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's obvious
in the same category.
Yeah.
They're all in the same category.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree 100%. There's so many players that Eichel's been compared to, but I mean, to have 3 superstar centers all on your lineup is just...
And then you add Gergensen.
Yeah,
And then you had
who made the
Gergensen.
All-Star game last year as our top
Johan
line
Larson
center.
is another player
Larson's another guy.
I mean, he's got room to still improve.
Yeah.
Johan Larson, I want to see Larson be their 4th line center for game 1.
Brayden, so you see it being Larson, Delory, Foligno, and not Legwand in that fourth
I
line?
would say yes. I mean, yeah, I understand why David Legwand was brought here. It was a salary cap dump for the Senators, and the Sabres could use
had
that
to get to the floor.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, you could have Legwand as a veteran experience who can help a young player on the 4th line, like a Delorier or a Foligno,
Or
grow their
Larson.
game, or Larson. Yes, exactly. I would much rather see Johan Larson on the 4th line centering Delorier and Foligno for game 1.
I agree. I think it's kind of hard when you had Larson last year playing on your top line, even barring the circumstances of the tank. But when you look at if I'm not mistaken, he was one,
Played
if not
pretty
the only
well.
guy that did not have a negative in the plus-minus category for the Sabres last year. So I just think it's kind of hard to see him now be a healthy scratch, especially when I believe he signed a one-way contract with the team.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the point that I was trying to make earlier with goals.
Okay.
Goals for the top line.
Okay.
Evander Kane wants to be a 50-goal scorer in the NHL. He has only surpassed 30 goals once. He hit 30 in the 2011-2012 season when it was the first year in Winnipeg.
Yes.
30 goals.
Yes.
This year with the Sabres, does he surpass 30 goals?
I can see him getting up very close to 30. Will he surpass it? It really does depend on how everything plays out the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
30 goals is definitely not out of the question.
Okay.
I think no matter what with O'Reilly or Eichel as your center, I think he surpasses 30. I could even see maybe 35 goals. I'm expecting a big year from Kane. It's kind of hard to not score with his raw physical, scoring ability added on to go with the weapons that he has on that line. I think this is, like you said, he only surpassed it one other year, but this year, he's set up to do it in maybe even more.
Adam, what do you think?
Well, I really think it heavily depends on the chemistry that's developed through the season. I mean, whether Kane's going to play with Eichel or O'Reilly, if Eichel's going to be a point-per-game player. I mean, we saw he had 2 points in those 2 games. We saw Tyler Ennis get 4 points. We don't know how much improved he is. How much Tyler Ennis wants to win after those 2 abysmal seasons. Ryan O'Reilly has something to prove with his off-ice incidents. Kane has something to prove. I think if all of these players play to their best ability and they develop chemistry, who knows? Maybe this team will even make the playoffs. Some people will think I'm crazy for saying that. I think it all depends on how the team meshes as one identity as the Buffalo Sabres together as the season progresses.
Okay, here's what I want everybody to do. Give me an exact number of how many goals you think each of these players are going to score. And we're going to start with Evander Kane. Frank, go ahead.
I'm going to say 28.
28.
33.
33 for Lou. Adam?
between 24 and 28.
Give an exact number.
Let's get a number.
How about 26, right in the middle?
Yeah, let's go with 26.
26, okay. And I'm going to say 34.
Okay.
I think that Evander Kane and Tyler Ennis are probably going to be the two highest scoring players on this team.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Tyler Ennis now. Frank.
All right, I say Vander Kane 20. I'm going to say Tyler Ennis at 25.
25.
I was going to say 26.
26.
Okay, I changed my opinion because Tyler Ennis did have 20 goals in the tank. So
And
if he had
21
20
the year
goals in the
before.
tank and he's on a line with Vander Kane, who knows? I think Vander Kane can maybe hit 35. It all depends. But if Tyler Ennis hit 20 last season,
He had 21 in
I'm sure
2013
he
too.
can get at least
Yeah.
25. And if Tyler Ennis can get at least 25, hell, I think Kane could get at least 30, 35. So I definitely changed my opinion on that one.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think about Ennis? Give me an exact number.
Points or goals?
Goals.
I'm gonna have to go with 24.
24.
Okay.
Okay. With Ennis, I'm gonna say he's gonna hit 30 exactly.
Okay. All right.
So okay, now let's go to Ryan O'Reilly.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Frank, how many
I'm-
goals will Ryan O'Reilly score?
I'm going to say 19.
19. Lou.
Yeah, I was thinking around 18, 19, but I'm on the more optimistic approach here. I'll say he gets over 20. I'll say 21.
21. Adam.
Well, with the Avalanche last year, he had 55 points and 17 goals, and he was playing with really good players. So, I never really saw O'Reilly as too much of a goal scorer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm pretty sure he could net at least 20, depending on what line he's on.
Okay.
All right, 20. And I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree with Lou. I'm gonna say 21.
Okay.
All right, and finally, Jack Eichel.
Okay.
This is tough because I know he's going to be a rookie. He's
Yeah.
18 now. He's going to be 19 in October. But the way that he's playing,
Yeah,
I think he's going to be more of a point producer where he's just going to feed the puck to everybody. But
Yeah.
when he's got the chance to take the shot, he's going to.
No 18-year-old center is more set up to develop into a 20-goal scorer than Eichel. You saw what he did in the World Championships and in college. That helped him a lot, really coming along to play in the NHL. And if any 18-year-old can surpass 20, it's going to be him.
I'm going to say 22.
22.
22.
I really think Eichel is going to surprise people with his talent. I would not be surprised if he got close to 25, 30 goals. It may sound crazy.
Yeah.
But I really think if I had to give a number, I'd say
it does depend on the ice
20,
time.
Maybe 27 goals.
On the second line, I'll say he
27.
scores 17.
So, if he plays on the top line,
Top line, give me 23.
23.
If he's playing with Tyler Ennis and Evander Kane, I'm pretty sure he can get about 26, even though he's a rookie.
Right.
Around that number.
Right.
Okay.
All right, and I am going to say if Eichel's playing on the top line, I'm going to say he's going to score 24 goals.
Okay.
So,
It's not bad.
with that, I
I'll
sort of
take
drew
that.
up a little chart very quickly. And, looking at some of these numbers, it looks like that if you just, for me, obviously, I have it a little higher because I'm thinking that this line's going to be a scoring machine.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
But we all have basically over 20 or more for each of these players. The only one is Frank with O'Reilly with only 19, but that's okay.
I say it because O'Reilly's not much of a goal scorer.
Yeah.
He's more of a defensive,
Yeah.
Right.
defensive guy. You're not going to see the points.
O'Reilly's
but you're
the
gonna see
type of player
production.
that just belongs in front of the net on the power play or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that. You
exactly.
put him right in front of the net. Yeah, he's only 6 foot, but you know what? He's still a big body. He doesn't look 6 foot on the ice. He
No, he
looks like
doesn't.
he's 6'4" on the
Yeah,
ice.
exactly.
It's unbelievable. He just plays so much bigger than he really is. But
You ever notice his stride too? He
his
skates. He takes
beautiful.
Yeah.
He's
He's a great skater.
Mm-hmm.
Great skater.
Absolutely.
He's
So
got a ton of passion for the game.
So-
Always
I've
the
always
last
been
one
a
off
fan
the
of him.
ice. Great character guy.
absolutely, and
Look up to him.
this team this year is filled with great character guys, and it's going to be one fun thing to see. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to run through the list of the Sabres players and prospects that were cut from the training camp roster and sent back to Rochester or released or however it is that they went back to Rochester. Yeah. But and then we're also going to look around the NHL and see some of the notable names that were cut. If you want to reach us, our number is 878-5104, and you're listening to Neutralized right here on WBNY.
91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. Brought to you by the Buffalo State Student Activity Fee.
Lend an ear Located at 15 Lafayette Avenue, Community Beer Works fills growlers 3 to 7 p.m. Thursdays and Fridays, and at Bidwell's Farmers Market on Saturdays. For more information, go to communitybeerworks.com. Cheers!
So here's 3 cheers for local beers. Beer, 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 Community Beer Works.
91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative. Brought to you by the student activity fee here at Buffalo State College. This is All Talk Monday, WBNY's public affairs programming that airs Monday mornings till midnight. The views expressed in all the various All Talk Monday shows are not necessarily those of WBNY, the United Students Government at Buffalo State, or Buffalo State itself. Due to the opinionated nature of these programs, listener discretion is highly advised. If you have any questions or comments about All Talk Monday, you can direct them to WBNY's All Talk Monday, 1300 Elmwood Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14222. For more information, check out our website at wbny.buffalostate.edu. Or you may give us a call at the station at 716-878-5104 and take part in all the various All Talk Monday shows.
Welcome back, everybody, here to Neutral Ice right here on 91.3 FM WBNY. Brayton Wilson, Frank Arcuri, Lou DiBiase, and Adam Bowerly here on the show. And, well, 8:32 is the time right now.
Yep.
And as... Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel
I did the math
Time
over
is
the
Jack
break.
Eichel.
You know, I was tired of these guesses, these wild guesses. Like, Eichel's gonna score 20 goals, 35 goals, 70 goals. Like, who knows? So I went through the NCAA. There's actually a calculator. It calculates the average of. It translates junior stats into NHL stats.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I looked at his point per game total in college. It was well over a point per game, and I did the math. And according to this, he's going to get 71 points this season.
71.
Really?
That's rookie of the year status
That's
for points.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's talking.
No,
if he
McDavid's
was-
going to be a bust. You know, everyone knows. He's an inch shorter.
Yeah.
You know, he's an inch shorter. You're bust.
Yeah, absolutely,
Poor
yeah.
Edmonton.
No. I mean, honestly, there's no doubt about it. Eichel and McDavid are going to be rookie of the year. I mean, they don't even need a third candidate. It's
It's going to be one of those.
It's going to be one of those two. You know, McDavid's probably going to be playing with somebody like Nail Yakupov and Benoit Pouliot. I mean, you would love to see him play.
He's been with Taylor Hall for quite a
Yeah, but I mean, he is living with Taylor Hall.
He is.
But is Todd McClellan really going to put him on the first line? I mean, but people are going to say that here. Is Jack Eichel really going to be in the first line for this season?
I think the difference is everyone in Edmonton wants him to be on the first
Oh, yeah.
line.
Everybody here in Buffalo wants Eichel to be on the first line, too.
Eichel is a man bod, and he's been playing against men. And a lot of people forget that. I think
Yeah,
the NCAA
but
is completely underrated. I mean, he's 18.
Yeah.
It's true.
But the difference is too is I think Buffalo knows that you can't just throw an 18-year-old, no matter how good he is, out against the best defenseman in the NHL right away. Like Eichel's going to be going up against yes, an agent Zdeno Chara most of the time, but are you going to put Eichel up against a Victor Hedman or a PK Subban? I'm not so sure about that just right away. Maybe as the season goes, we can see what happens, but I think Eichel is going to benefit so much from playing on the second line to start the year and then gradually give him more ice time as the season goes.
Yeah, exactly. Just because he's not playing on the top line to start off the season doesn't mean, like I said earlier, lines are going to rotate a lot throughout the season.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same line all the time. You're going to see Eichel on the top line this season at some point.
Speaking of Eichel, I just did the math. According to my calculations, Connor McDavid is going to get exactly .7659 points. So he's going to get 4 points more than Eichel, according to the Sandy Danny calculator. So
interesting.
Maybe Eichel's going to be the boss. Who knows?
Maybe.
Well, either way, I don't think
I don't think they're bust if that happens.
Totally. They're boss.
But to go back with the ice time too, look at Colorado with Nathan McKinnon. It's the same thing. McKinnon was the second line, started on the second line in his rookie year, and he put up 68 points.
Yeah, and he dominated in the playoffs.
And yeah, he had a great,
benefited.
playoffs, even though Colorado lost in 7 games in Minnesota.
Yeah,
and he's had so much chemistry with Gabriel Landeskog right now, and they're still going to likely be playing together.
Exactly.
And they're only playing second line minutes.
So Joe DiBiase, regular here on the show.
Yes.
He's not here today. Boo. But he just tweeted me.
Really? What do you say?
By the way, on Twitter, I'm at BJ Wilson WGR. Frank's at Frank Arcuri.
Yes.
Lou is at
DB Sports Talk.
DB Sports Talk. Adam, are you on Twitter?
No, I try to stay away from social media. Don't fry my brain, I be on Twitter all night in bed trying to relax. I won't go to sleep. Girls be twitting me. Wait, I almost just said a swear word. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
But I do have a Facebook, but I like to keep it on the wraps. I mean, you can look me up. It's not like a professional page, it's a personal page, every once in a while I'll post some inappropriate humor that might get me in trouble. So I actually recommend you don't look me up. But in the case you do look me up, just know that most of my posts are satirical.
Okay.
And, maybe I'll introduce some hockey to it.
All right.
Good.
Well, Joe just tweeted me, and he said goal predictions for each of the 4 players. He's joining in on Twitter.
Oh.
Okay.
Joe says Evander Kane scores 45 goals this year.
Okay, Joe.
No way.
Okay.
Tyler Ennis scores 30.
Okay.
I like to say
on.
Joe normally.
Ryan O'Reilly, 20. Jack
That's
Eichel,
a
22.
That's more reasonable.
Those are more reasonable. Kane, I
Kane
definitely
and
think
Ennis,
that's a little
that's
high.
Joe is more the bold type, so
He
it's
is
Oh,
not
yeah.
a
We know
surprise.
that.
And there's no bad thing for being too bold. It's just, I don't think Vander Kane's going to score 40 goals this year. I would love to see
I
him
hope
score
so. I
40
hope he
goals.
I
does.
hope he does,
But,
but I don't think he's.
I mean, the production on that top line is going to be spread out between him and Ennis. I think both of those players. Of course, Kane is more of the goal scorer. Ennis is more of the playmaker. However, with the way that Ennis played against Ottawa,
Yeah.
I can see him scoring a lot this year.
Ennis
More
can-
than 20.
Ennis can put the puck in the net whenever
yeah.
he feels like it.
Especially
yeah.
if Eichel
That's
or
just how it
O'Reilly
is
setting
with
you up. So
Yeah, exactly.
It's different from last year when it was Johan Larsson.
You,
and he still put up
you
20.
also still have to take into account too how spread out this offense is. It's not like it's compacted to one or two lines. It's like we have 3 lines that can score.
So I tallied up all of the totals of the 4 goals for each player.
Yeah.
So, granted, of course, you'd have to take out the goal totals for O'Reilly and Eichel. For you, Lou, you had 102 goals between the 4 players.
Okay.
Frank, 95, Adam, 96, me, 109, and Joe, 117 goals.
Oh my God. Okay.
I mean, I understand. Maybe my 109 is a little high, but 117
Joe's
is just
is
radically high.
Like the Sabres
Sorry,
would
Joe.
never score that much.
If you're listening, Joe, we're sorry. 117 is pretty high.
Joe,
We
you're
love
nuts.
you, but
So,
come on.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
this is what's gonna happen. They finished twice. They finished dead last twice in a row. So now they're gonna be the 8th seed to win the cup. I believe.
Well, I mean, you look at this
All
roster; it is not the same team as last year.
No, it's
Right.
Absolutely.
They're gonna be a lot better than I think most
All
people
right.
expect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, transitioning back into the Sabres. The Sabres made roster moves last night
yes.
where they sent 12 players back to Rochester. They cut them from the training camp roster. The list is Justin Bailey, Nick Baptiste, 2 big names that we've been following for quite some time.
Yep.
Jerry D'Amigo cleared waivers.
Okay.
He's going back to Rochester. Same with Phil Veroni. He
Good.
cleared waivers. He's
Good.
going
Oh,
back.
he did clear waivers.
Yes,
Good.
that's
Rochester
from
needs
what
it.
I've seen. Yep.
That's a good thing.
Jean Dupuis, William Carrier, Dan Catenacci, Justin Kia, Jack Nevins, Andrei Makarov, and Matt Garbovsky and Matt Propavases. Propavases?
Propave.
I think that's how it is. I don't know.
Is he
Close
French
enough.
or something?
Close enough.
Close enough. They were released from their PTOs with Buffalo, but they're going to report to Rochester for camp. But
Yeah.
Garbowski has a contract with them anyways.
Yeah.
Matt Prapavasis, I don't think has a contract with them. I think he's only on a PTO terms. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you
I
know,
think we would have heard about it if he got signed.
right?
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like someone who's on a PTO.
Yeah.
Especially with that last name. How can make it?
If I mean,
No
well,
one's
if
able
he
to pronounce
signs,
it. Can you imagine Rick Jenner trying to pronounce that? Matt
Oh.
Propovich. I don't know if it'll work.
So-
what's his
I don't even
last
know if he's
name?
to be in the NHL. We'll
so with this roster, you look at the Sabres roster, and I mean, you got a couple of. I mean, the one guy that didn't get cut and sent back was Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Who, maybe is a little bit of a surprise, but not too much. Jason Atkinson is still with the Sabres as well.
Yeah.
Now, with these players getting cut and players not getting cut, do you think that a guy like Justin Bailey or Nick Baptiste are going to see the lights of the NHL this season?
It's still very likely. It depends on who gets hurt and who's also playing well at Rochester, well enough to get a call up from Rochester.
I think if they need an offensive spark, absolutely. The thing is, to me, with Baptiste is I'm okay with him playing if we have a lot of injuries, playing on a one of the top lines, but at the same time, I'm okay with him playing on a third or fourth line too. I think he's a very versatile type of player. I think him and Bailey can both see the ice for the Sabres this year over some guys like Veroni and Schaller, who, yes, they can contribute, and they played a lot with the Sabres last season. I think really more on upside and really trying to get more contribution on the ice. I definitely think Baptiste is going to play this year. Bailey, I'm not too sure. We'll see how it works out in Rochester. I think he needs to really use his size and get more physical in the AHL this season.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you about Baptiste being a versatile player. I think that's one of his strengths. But I'd have to say absolutely not. I think Bailey and Baptiste are going to stay in the AHL. I think they got cut for a reason. I got to remember, this is their first professional season hockey. There's going to be an adjustment. So, maybe if there's an injury towards the end of the season, maybe they'll give Baptiste a taste. But as it stands now, I'd be doubtful if they actually had some NHL time this season. But we'll see what happens.
There's no doubt about it. Both of these young prospects can score goals. But they're both very different style of players. Justin Bailey is more of the offensive, flashy player. He's big, yes, and I agree with Lou's point. He needs to utilize his size more.
Yep.
But the one thing about Justin Bailey is his slap shot is a rocket. Nick Baptiste, his speed is very underrated.
Yes.
He can just turn on the jets in a snap. He's very good on the far side of the ice on the power play. I mean, that's where that was his bread and butter.
That's where he made his money with McDavid.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, before that, even with Sudbury, he was over there on the power play, and that's that spot where where Ovechkin and Stamkos love to be, right near the face-off circle. That's Baptiste's spot right there, especially on the power play.
If it wasn't for that move, Ovechkin would only have 20 goals. No, I'm serious. I was watching the highlights of Ovechkin's 52 goals. I swear to God,
it's true.
30 of them were in that same spot. If it wasn't for that move, Ovechkin would probably have about 20 goals.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. But yeah, I mean, I think Nick Baptiste is definitely more of the player that's more likely going to see some NHL time right away than Justin Bailey. But both players are very, very good bright spots in the Sabres organization for prospect depth.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that they will definitely see. I mean, I don't think they'll see ice time in the NHL before Phil Veroni or even Jerry D'Amigo. I think that they'd probably be the first call-ups. But I mean, eventually later on in the season, they do have a set number of call-ups, a certain number of call-ups you can have. I think before. I mean, it's all based on contract, I believe.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of circumstantial stuff too. Because at the end of the season, if the Sabres really aren't competing for a playoff spot, then you bring up Baptiste or Bailey and give them a taste of the NHL instead of a guy like Veroni who won't really. I expect fully Bailey and Baptiste to be competing for a roster spot next season. So.
I agree 100%.
It really all just depends on how they're playing Rochester this year.
Mm-hmm. So
funny how both these guys got traded in the OHL.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean,
food for thought.
They're great players. They really are. And they helped their teams get to where they were last year. I mean, Nick Baptiste in the playoffs last year was stellar. Granted, he was playing with Dylan Strome, however, I mean, and McDavid, of course, but still, I mean, he was acquired for a reason because his style of play is just so underrated. It's just one of those. He's one of those players that you don't expect him to play like that, and then he could just beat you with his speed. He can beat you with his physicality. I mean, his shot is pretty good. He's got. I mean, again, when he's playing on that far side of the ice, when you're watching from the stands, facing the benches or something like that on that far side of the ice, he is great. Very, very good. Very shifty, yes. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Justin Bailey, he's got those flashes, but he needs to further develop his game just a little bit more, utilize his size. I mean, Justin Bailey, he's got good speed. Pretty good speed for the type of player he is. Very good skater. His shot, again, as I've said, is just a rocket. It's a booming shot. I mean, you could put him on the point on the power play, basically.
He just has to grow into his body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's got to be more physical along the boards. He's got to be more, physical protecting the puck, and it's just one thing he's got to work on. And I think that Randy Cunningworth in Rochester is going to have fun with those two players.
Great signing. I mean, to want to win in Rochester, the coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Cunningworth's as you just said, he's going to have fun with
Cunningworth
Bailey.
has had he's had a reputation with working well with young players and prospects in the minors, developing them into some very, very good players. He did have that little stint with Montreal where, people didn't like him in Montreal because he didn't speak French, but
that's Montreal.
That's just Montreal being Montreal. So. Anyways, one other player that I was that I'm still sort of surprised with, that he doesn't have a two-way contract is Matt Garbowski. I like Matt Garbowski. Yes, he's a little small, but he plays with an edge to his game. I like the little edge he plays.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Garbowski get a two-way contract, an NHL two-way contract.
Well, if he plays well enough, the Sabres can convert his
true.
AHL contract to an NHL contract.
That is true. They'd have to sign him to a completely new contract.
Yeah,
but
you never. All he has to do is just show his worth.
Mm-hmm.
Play well in Rochester, and you never know.
I agree 100%. Yeah. So, anyways, moving on from the Sabres now, we're going to go to the NHL. We're going to talk about some of the notable releases from training camp with camp invites. And we're going to start with the Toronto Maple Leafs because they had, I think, 3 camp invites. They've released 2 of their camp invitees who were Devin Setaguchi and Curtis Glencross. However, Curtis Glencross has just recently, tonight, accepted a PTO with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
Where he might actually fit in pretty nicely in Colorado.
He does fit in with that team.
Yeah. So he'll get another chance with Colorado. I mean, granted, 2 years ago he was up for a possible captaincy in Calgary, and now he's fighting for a roster spot in the NHL. The other player, Devin Setaguchi, he's just becoming one of those players that he just can't crack the NHL lineup anymore. It's tough. It's very tough. The third invite that they had was Brad Boyce, who since he has signed a NHL contract, one-way deal, $700,000 per year.
Yep.
Some of the other notable other notable tryouts that are still going on or players that have been released or signed. Derek Roy is still in his PTO with the Washington Capitals. He's actually been, from what I've seen, decent with Washington. He did score a goal in the first preseason game he played, and since then he's been considerably good. Ray Emery has been released from his PTO with the Tampa Bay Lightning after they claimed Kevin Poulin off waivers from the New York Islanders. Continuing to go through the list here of professional tryouts, Sergei Gonchar and Tom Cicito are still with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Keep going here. Matt Karkner's been released from his PTO with the New York Islanders. Whatever. Tyler Kennedy and Lee Stempniak still with the Devils. Let's see. Tomas Fleischmann has been playing very well with the Montreal Canadiens.
He has been.
He's on his PTO. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Canadiens made a deal to him at the end of camp. Continuing to go through the list here. Marty Havlat and David Booth are still with the Panthers. Haven't heard anything new with them. James Shepard's been released from his contract or professional tryout with the Blue Jackets. Andre Mazzaros, as far as I've heard, he's still on his PTO with the Avalanche. Chicago has made some releases for their PTOs. Lubomir Vyshnovsky, Jan Heda, Tomas Kopechki, and former Sabre Dan Paye have all been released from their PTOs. And besides that, the only other significant PTO that is still really going on is Jonas Gustafsson with the Bruins. The Coyotes have released Patrick Dwyer, Keith Awley from their PTO contracts. Mm-hmm. So, and then besides the PTOs, there's also the draft picks from this past year. The notable draft picks, again, was we've mentioned that this draft last year has been one of the deepest drafts in recent history. And some of the more notable names that are still out there that are still on their respected teams. Pavel Zacha is still on the Devils. Dylan Strome is still with the Coyotes. Granted, are they going to get their shots with each team? I could see both Zacha and Strome getting 9 games.
Yeah, same here.
Strome, I think, definitely gets the 9 games.
There's even talk that they want to keep Strome the entire season in Arizona, which
Depends
I think, first of all, is dumb because I think that Strome isn't NHL ready.
Yeah.
However, it's the Coyotes. They're probably going to tank this year.
Yeah.
And
Darcy
I wonder
Regier
how much
there.
that is
Darcy
for the fans too. They're trying to get people to buy
If
their
there are
tickets.
fans.
Well,
The
here's
fan? The
the
one
thing.
fan?
Here's the thing. Is that the Coyotes really? They want Austin Matthews. They really want Austin Matthews because he's a hometown kid.
Tank watch.
He is the top of the line in the prospect race. he's very good. He's playing with ZSC, which is Zurich, in the National League in Switzerland. And so far, he's been playing pretty well. I think he's got something like 2 or 3 goals already.
Yeah.
And he was he missed draft eligibility for last year's draft by 2 days.
Yeah.
If he was 2 days older, he would have been going to the Arizona Coyotes with the number 3 overall pick. He would have been going home to play for his hometown team.
Ouch.
The Coyotes would be, and honestly, the Coyotes would be on the fast track out of this rebuild. They would be better off with Austin Matthews this year, and then they probably would have been trying to acquire players to be better next year, better for this year, instead of having to do this all over again for next year.
And they had a couple of young guys. They have a couple of young guys too. I mean, to go with him if they would have got him in Max Domi and Anthony Duclair, who they got from the Rangers trade. So, but they, like you said, they would have had to get some veteran guys in there, and they still do.
Yeah, and who knows what the Arizona Coyotes model is? Edmonton Oilers throw the 18-year-olds to the Wolves. We don't know what Arizona's model is.
It starts to gear. Anything can happen.
True.
I honestly think Dylan Strom's going to get his 9 games, but to keep him there for the season, I mean that's just foolish. You'd be looking at a Leon Draisaitl situation again. You don't want to do that to a kid, or a Grigorenko situation. You don't want to burn the first year of a contract. Granted, Leon Draisaitl's probably ready for the NHL at this point, especially if he's going to be playing on a line with McDavid, which is a possibility. McDavid just makes everybody better on the ice.
It's
so.
True.
Anyways, continuing on with our list here, of course, Eichel, McDavid, they're going to be here. They're going to be staying. Mitch Marner's been sent back to the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League. Probably the best decision because he's going to be on the top line with probably Christian Dvorak, who was also sent back yesterday.
Another prospect.
For the Coyotes.
Some weight. I think it's 150 pounds.
Marner's
like 165. He's
not
very
too far
small.
off.
Yeah,
very small. Like he's 5'11", 160 pounds. That's according to NHL.com on their
Probably
NHL draft list. And then he's also going to be probably playing on a line with 2016 top prospect Matt Tkachuk, son of Keith Tkachuk.
Yeah.
And Matt Tkachuk played in the U.S. Prospects games the other day and was pretty good. Pretty good. I was impressed with him. The prospect game was actually very, very fun to watch. Some very good U.S. talent coming up in this year's draft. So continuing on, Noah Hanifin, he's obviously going to play with Carolina. He signed his entry-level contract to leave Boston College. Ivan Provorov's been sent back. Zach Werenski hasn't even gotten the chance because he's still playing in college. Timo Meyer for San Jose just got sent back to Halifax. 2 names that I'm intrigued with. Mikko Rantanen, 6'4", right winger for Colorado, is still on the roster. He would have to go back to Finland, though, if he were to play anywhere. If he were not to play with Colorado, he'd go back to Finland. He's still under contract with TPS in the Liga, the league the professional league in Finland. And then Lawson Krause is still with Florida. And according to the indications there, the Panthers want Lawson Krause to play on their roster
at least the
first 9 games. And obviously you want to see these players play, but from what I've heard is that Florida really likes Lawson Krause. And I mean, granted, he's 6'4", 215 pounds. He's got good size. He has a knack for crashing the net and being a real havoc in front of the net. But does Lawson Krause really make the roster for the Panthers?
Well, I think there's a lot of intangibles that he brings. But I mean, if you look at the stats, if you just look at the numbers, 51 points in 56 games in OHL, not too impressive. A lot of people, he was kind of penciled in as a top 5 pick, before the draft. I thought that was a little odd. I mean, if you look at the numbers itself, but I think, for an 18-year-old kid, like you said, he's a big guy. I think he brings a lot of intangibles, maybe Florida's looking for. Personally, I don't understand why people are so big on him. Just looking at the numbers, I haven't seen him play a lot, but
the size is very enticing. I mean, when you look at Florida, I feel like they're going to be a team that's trying to compete this season. And, I mean, if he's impressing in any way, I think you go with it. I think at least give him the 9 games just to see what he's like in the NHL. But like Adam said, even in the OHL, he wasn't, a dominant player, but he did have some really good success. So
he was probably the biggest question mark heading into this year's draft. Him and Pavel Zacha were the 2 biggest question marks.
Absolutely.
And so far in New Jersey, Zacha's looked pretty good.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely worth a try, even for both guys, to at least give them the 9 games just to see how they adjust to the NHL.
Well, especially since it's such a deep draft, like normally, like the 2014 draft, you wouldn't want to see like a 9-game. Like, can you imagine Michael Dale Cole with a 9-game tryout? He get knocked around, but 2015 draft, it's so deep that it's not hard to believe that some of these players getting signed so early. I mean, just look at, like, for example, Brendan Goulet. He's a second-round pick. He got signed like a month afterwards. So, I mean, when you talk about players getting 9-game tryouts, people got to remember this is an extremely deep draft. So it's not too unbelievable that they would get a 9-game tryout.
Right, yeah, and that's the thing with this draft is that there's so many good players in this draft that could have that possibility. Again, the 2003 NHL draft, which was the last draft that was really, really good and deep. There's I think 24 players from that draft that are still playing in the NHL today.
There were Eric Stahl, Dustin Brown, Thomas Vanek, Nathan Horton, Ryan Getzlav,
some
Braden
of the best
Coburn,
players
Ryan
in the
Suter,
league.
Diane Phaneuf, Zach Parise. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the thing is that of those players, 27 of the 30 players had and have had or continue to have promising NHL careers.
The first round players.
Right, exactly. So we're running out of time. Quickly, we're going to run through this list more. All 3 of the Boston picks are back at junior. Matthew Barzal remains with the Islanders. Tomas Chabot still with the Ottawa Senators.
Yep.
Continuing down the list, everybody else. Travis Konechny had an impressive first few games with Philadelphia, but he was sent back. And that is about it. For the draft picks that are still here. Of course, Brendan Goulet still with the Buffalo Sabres. But that's going to do it for us here on Neutral Ice. You can follow Neutral Ice, the show, on Twitter at Neutral Ice WBNY. You can also follow each of us on Twitter. I am BJ Wilson WGR. Frank is Frank Arcuri.
Yes.
Lou DiBiase.
DB Sports Talk.
DB Sports Talk. Yes, of course. Adam, no Twitter, but that's okay. So anyways, for all the guys, Adam, Lou, Frank, I'm Brayton Wilson. Thank you for tuning in to Neutral Ice every Monday night right here on 91.3 FM WBNY.